Hi, welcome at the at IMPAKT. How nice that you join our stream tonight. My name is Lillian Stolk and I'm organizing the together with Margarita Osipian, Laurens Schertz and Marco Wesso. Margarita is the one who you will. Tonight, you're going to learn a lot about what's happening on the internet at the moment. The is a platform for internet cultures based in Amsterdam. We organize events and publish online editorials with which we try to better understand the internet. With some of our events, we take a deep dive into a specific topic, but with tonight's event, we're going to explore a very broad range of different things. We've invited 8 different speakers who will all share their fascination, story, research, or project in exactly 5 minutes. We will go from cottagecore to PMS and from the Bernie Sanders meme to password managers. After every talk, there's time for some questions, which you can post in the chat, and then Margarita will forward them to me. Also, feel free to share your comments or personal stories that relate to the things that are being said in the chat. Yeah, with every online event, we try out to do new things because we think there's still a lot to discover in online events. Instead of literally copying what we do during physical events, we want to look for interactions that can only exist online or that work much better online. That's one of our motivations to introduce a new mini-series tonight, Desktop Trips, where one of our speakers will take you on a live tour through the nooks and crannies, secret folders, and strange apps on their desktop. Another thing that we really miss from organizing physical events is being able to look into the room and see you. So that's why we organize a short bar talk or hangout at the end of the event tonight. We do this in our OYE environment, which we're currently developing and expanding. So that's another experiment that we'll have tonight. We are very happy that we made this event in collaboration with IMPAKT. IMPAKT is a center for media culture based in Utrecht. If there won't be a curfew or corona measures, then this event would have taken place in their beautiful venue in Utrecht. IMPAKT presents critical and creative views on contemporary culture, media culture and arts, and talks about urgent issues around in our digital and trans-global culture. Once a year, they hold their 5-day multimedia event, IMPAKT Festival, and throughout the year, they also have different activities. This Saturday, they host another virtual masked ball. Margarita and I participated in their first ball a few weeks ago, and we had so much fun. So check out their website if you want to know more about it. All right, before we kick off with the presentations, I would like to invite Inez de Co from IMPAKT to the stream. On behalf of IMPAKT, Inez invited 3 of the 8 speakers for tonight. Hey, Inez.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me right?
Yes, I can hear you. Great. Yeah, you're tonight's guest programmer, and we always ask a guest programmer to share what fascinates you on the internet at the moment and how this has resulted in the speakers that you've invited. You also brought some images to share this story with us.
That's right.
So let's have a look, or maybe you can tell us about it.
Yeah, no. It's basically the last year has been quite a strange, strange one. But the internet has actually been one of the nicest places to be, for me at least. I've discovered quite a lot of things. One of them was a Google Sheet party, house party. Well, this version you see here is a house party, which is, you know, surprisingly creative solutions for a difficult time. Another example, for instance, is a horror movie that I watched, which was completely created over Zoom. Maybe the next slide, you can see it. It's called Host, and it's very scary. It's like, yeah, it's a haunting over the internet. It's really, really nice. And you know, another fun thing, like you said before, was the Snapcam ball masqué that we organized. I have one more slide of it. It's not exactly representational, but you should join us on Friday when, like Lilian said, we have another one. And it's just a very, very creative place to be. Oh, now it looks like we're hosting a horror party. That's the next slide. Oh dear, everyone's gonna freak out now. Yeah, so I mean, these three things basically, for me, summarize a little bit of what is going on, and the three speakers that I've selected. Well, Agnieszka Wodzinska is focusing on cottagecore. You'll hear a lot of it in a minute, but it's for me that also showed the dark side and the positive, hopeful side of the internet. Yeah, she will able to tell you a lot more about that. Also, I've invited Nadine Botta, who shows how fantasy and reality can come together in a very interesting way. Yeah, for me, her project represented a very interesting way to make sense of our colonial past. And then, last but not least, I've invited B, who's creates. I think they're able to show how empathic storytelling can help us break out of our isolated experiences. So yeah, that's it for me, and I really hope you will enjoy the rest of the evening. I just wanted to take one last second to thank Lilian for joining us, for letting us share his experience.
Yeah, so nice. Great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to your speakers and actually to all the speakers. And I think it's time to start with the presentation. So yeah, see you later, maybe in the bar talk afterwards, Inez.
Absolutely. Wouldn't miss it.
Yay. And then it's time to invite the first speaker to the stream. Yeah, it's actually a topic that has fascinated me very much in the past few weeks. It's one of the most fascinating things I've read on the internet in the last weeks. It is about DALL-E. DALL-E is a neural network that can translate any text into an image. Yeah, it's interesting to think about how this will influence the art, and that is actually what the next presentation will be about. In a physical event, I would say, have a warm welcome for Luba. I can say that now also, and probably everyone is giving you an applause at the moment from behind their computers. Luba, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Lilian.
Hi, nice to. Yeah, so nice to have you here tonight. And you're going to tell us more about DALL-E from your background as being a creator and a researcher.
Indeed, yes.
If you're ready, you can start with your presentation.
Yeah, I'm ready. So
okay,
we can start.
Let's start.
Great. So yeah, I'll be talking about DALL-E today, which is an AI system that, as Lilian said, generates images from text. And yeah, it was developed by OpenAI. And the name DALL-E comes from Salvador Dali, so the surrealist artist, and WALL-E, so this kind of Pixar robot. And yes, I guess they want to link the creativity and the robot elements. And these are some typical examples of some images generated by the system. So this is an armchair in the shape of an avocado. And to me, I can certainly see both the avocado and the chair, which is quite a big progress from 2015, when if you wanted to generate an image from a text, this kind of blurry kind of stop sign, where you can't even read the stop, is what you'd get. However, the current system is still not perfect, which is perhaps of interest to artists. So you can see when the text prompt is to like a snail made of a harp, then there are some images where the two objects are quite distinct, but in others, there are some where the texture is kind of meshed. So it doesn't always kind of generate the image as according to the brief perfectly. And this is particularly to be seen in generating the storefront with the OpenAI wording. So some of these are pretty good, right? So you can read the OpenAI on the storefront. But on other images, it's kind of not so clear, right? Because the font kind of is not aligned so well, or you get like random strikes through the lettering. So it's not always clear. Right, so which is exciting as an imperfection. And another example is this kind of female mannequin dressed in a black leather jacket and gold pleated skirt. So this was also kind of done with a prompt of an image, like similar to some of these. And some of these are pretty good. As you can see, they do kind of show the pleated skirt and the right colors, but others have colors that are quite muddy and skirts that might be actually not pleated. So again, there are certain like quirks in the model. And yeah, so this is about kind of looking at the teapot and changing the color to blue, which it does pretty well. So there are occasionally kind of some snags, but it does kind of much worse in changing the shape. Because in this image, you're supposed to have some teapots which are like a lot smaller, and you can see that some of them are a different color or they're missing something. But yeah, what to me is more exciting artistically is Clip, which is a system that kind of looks at how well the picture describes a phrase. And it was actually part of the DALL-E system. And Clip is something that has been seeing a lot of excitement on Twitter. So there was a researcher called Adverb who made one of the kind of first public implementations of Clip to guide BigGAN. And BigGAN is an image generation model that was kind of released a couple of years ago. So you can see how realistic it is. And yeah, I'm now going to show some of the artistic examples of using this technology, like this by Simon Colton, which are some images based on the prompt on you have to admit that life is a wonderful game and that the game is a game of luck. So you can see puppies and kind of luck signifiers in there. And then there's kind of another image of computer generated art kind of based on Clip with the prompt of beautiful microbial colony, which I think is quite interesting in terms of aesthetic. Travis Hopper, so he wrote a poem, and Clip was generating the images kind of line by line. And yeah, which is, I think, an exciting reading. And Gustav Kotal, so he was generating images and seeing how closely they were aligning to the text prompt. And for the most beautiful women, you can kind of see that the most aligned version was tanned and had makeup on. And Maria used Clip to make kind of collages and try to involve them for the best compositions. So yeah, that's a start of the creative work with Clip and hopefully DALL-E.
Hey, thank you for your presentation. That was a nice introduction of a whole new thing I didn't know about, the whole Clip network, or is it also a neural network?
Yeah, so Clip is also a neural network. And one of the reasons why I kind of introduced it is because OpenAI released both DALL-E and Clip like simultaneously on the same day. And I know a lot of the mainstream press became more interested in DALL-E because, of course, it was generated all these beautiful images from text. But it was actually Clip that saw much more artistic interest.
Yeah. And do you also think, like, it seems that DALL-E would be very capable of generating images for cartoons or advertisements or illustrations, images that explain certain ideas. And is it then that maybe Clip would be more fitting for translating art, more art projects, or you say poems already? What kind of art do you think are beyond the reach of this kind of technology, also with Clip?
So yeah, I think DALL-E can be used kind of in advertising and sometimes to help explain things, or in stock photography. But I think there are some issues with it because it's quite computationally intensive, and a lot of the images you saw, so they were cherry picked from a lot of different variations, and all the generated images are still quite small. And so I think it will still be a while before it's a serious contender. And I think Clip probably has kind of more artistic possibilities in a way. Because it's kind of more opportunities to try and see how an image kind of matches a definition. And it's just like another tool that artists can kind of start working with, because of course, over the past few years, we've seen a lot of work done with GPT-3, kind of generating texts, and then also working with GANs, which is kind of another image generation system that was kind of generating objects like very well.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to kind of see artists explore new tools.
Do you then see it more than a tool, as a tool for artists instead of a tool that is replacing the work of artists?
Yeah, I think it'll be a while before artists are replaced, because ultimately the real kind of creativity comes a lot of the time from the artist, right? And often like they decide to work with a model, they kind of guide it. They often pick a data set and curate the final results. So it's kind of another tool and they can add to the box, but the real creativity lies with them.
We got a question from someone in the chat, Casey. How does DALL-E learn? You can get images, but how does it couple that to words?
Oh, so I think for that it's probably best if you look at the detailed blog post on the OpenAI website, because there will be kind of a proper kind of technical explanation as to exactly how the model works.
Yeah, Margarita will probably be sharing that in the chat as well.
Yeah.
Another question. In the first examples of DALL-E, the prompts were repeated a few times. Why is that?
So I think it's kind of the way the researchers decided to set up the example and to kind of look at the different ways how you can kind of define the problem.
Okay. Then a question from Sophie. Does DALL-E also source images from the internet and then add different elements, like the storefront being an existing photo with the signage added on?
So what I think is so DALL-E generates these kind of images based on what happened to my video? So it looks at the images kind of in its data set and then kind of generates something. So the storefront images would be kind of new images that it's generating, but of course it's very possible that they could be kind of very similar to some kind of existing images.
Okay, great. And it's not possible to use this these networks
Yes.
yet, right? Or
DALL-E haven't released an open source So yeah, OpenAI haven't released an open source implementation of DALL-E yet, as far as I know. But there are lots of kind of different implementations of Clip. So there was one by A Hand Vanish that I kind of included in my slides, and there are probably more. There are definitely more that you can find on Twitter.
and Clip?
Yeah, for Clip.
Oh, for Clip is that? Yeah. And one last question. Rio is asking if Luba has encountered any neo-Ludities.
Oh, neo-Luddites, so people who hate the technology and want to destroy it.
Yeah.
Right. I guess that's what they mean. I don't know. I think people nowadays are maybe a bit more kind of restrained in the way they express their emotions and they act. But in terms of AI in art, of course, there are lots of people who don't think we should be creating AI with creating art with AI because they fear that it's replacing artists. But yeah, from my perspective, it's like another tool that artists can use, and in terms of kind of art made with an AI, it's just another type of art in addition to all the other different mediums and styles that exist. And there are plenty of people who maybe don't like it so much because they kind of think it's like too mechanical, or they don't kind of understand the story or what's interesting about it. But there's also like quite a lot of variety in terms of art made with AI now, and there are some artists who are very kind of sophisticated in how they use those tools, and by looking at some of these kind of works, you might never guess that AI was involved there.
Cool. Thanks a lot for sharing your story, and I'm looking forward to see what kind of art how it will be used by artists when the software is open. Thanks a lot, Luba.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah. Our next speaker is Meltem Şahin, who is an artist and curator from Turkey. And Meltem will tell us more about the attempts at breaking taboos around PMS with her exhibitions and her Instagram account at OmiMyPMS. Hey, Meltem.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good.
Great. Yeah, we had some technical problems before the start of the event, but it seems all fine now. If you're ready, we start your presentation.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Meltem. I'm an artist and designer from Turkey. Currently, I'm creating IG filters, AI works, and today I'm with you not as an artist, but as a creator of augmented reality exhibition project called PMS. To explain why I did the project about PMS, I want to talk about perception of menstruation in Turkey first. For instance, according to Turkish language dictionary, dirty is a woman who is menstruating. And in Turkey, if you want to buy sanitary pads in markets, they give it in a black box that no one can see what you bought. And what about around the world? There's a tradition of congratulating girls who have their first period with a slap on their face by their mothers. Like in Turkey, Afghanistan, and Israel, and also in Nepal, there are like menstruation huts for punishment. And this is a gift. Okay, it's not moving. This is a gift by Elif Demir, and it depicts how our worlds can be upside down during PMS. And after searching for menstruation hearts, actually it hits me even more. And why menstruation is a taboo, like reaching an age that can give birth to a child, it reminds people that sexuality becomes taboo. And also menstruation is considered disgusting because we forgot our like lovely animal natures. And in here you can see a photo by Rupi Kaur. Her photo was deleted by Instagram, and it shows also how social media is like increasing these taboos around menstruation. And You can see again a gift by Amy Cheng from the exhibition, and she's from Taiwan. And in this, you can see how she embraced her own blood and her animal nature and smudged all over it. And I really enjoy the fluidity of the movement. And how PMS started. When I came back from US, I was literally enlightened on gender issues. And when I came back to Turkey, I was really frustrated on how majority treat women and queer folk. So I decided to act and create this exhibition. And with this exhibition, I wanted to that this emerged from the area that where hormonal fluctuations, imbalances, and hysteria embrace, and its attempt to break these taboos and unreal. And this is a GIF, also stop motion GIF by Eileen Ohri. This depicts the emotional roller coaster during PMS with the uterus on crazy ride, and there is a head of unicorn also. I really enjoy on the corner. And for this also show, I was like really paying attention individual experiences created by artists, and I was creating this in the male dominant field, which is technology, and making this exhibition in Turkey with women artists were like really important for me. And I can proudly say that this was the first AR exhibition in Turkey. And in here you can see how it's like working in the exhibition. And that time there weren't ready apps, so we have to develop our app by ourselves. And with this exhibition, I also diversity and uniqueness was like really important. And because each person's symptoms are different and unique, for this exhibition also I wanted to choose artists from like different social cultural backgrounds and different styles also. And this is a gift from Merve Atılgan. She said that she doesn't experience PMS actually like majority of people. She said that during her PMS, she feels more calm and grounded. And this one is from Işık Dikmen, what you're seeing right now. In here, you can see the opposite also direction. And also, I really enjoy the cyclic nature of gifts, like which resembles the biological cycle of menstruation. So like in my mind as a concept also, they just like come together. And this is a photo from the previous exhibition. So far, we did 2 exhibitions in Istanbul, one in Asian side and one in European side of Istanbul. And then for the third version, we're thinking something different. And we were thinking that why did we need the third version? We wanted to get PMS out of a situation where only women speak about, but rather discussed by all genders and non-binary folks. And this is a gift from the third version of the PMS, created by Gürkan Gürler, and he's a recent graduate from undergrad. And with this exhibition also, I wanted to combine undergrads with the more professional artists as well. And for the third version, I'm thinking not a physical this time, but more like a digital exhibition. So the Instagram account also can be an exhibition, but also now I'm like obsessed with crypto art, and I'm searching that maybe we can sell those posters on the crypto art platforms. And this is the title of the exhibition, title gift of the exhibition. And we have an open call for the third version of the PMS. Also, if you're interested, you can reach me. And thank you. I'm so proud to be here. Oh, Lillian, oh no. Again, the sound is
Yes,
not
no, I forgot to unmute, sorry. Thank you for your presentation, and also nice to see some GIFs in between your slides. I was wondering, how do you choose the artists for the exhibition? Do you commission them to make work, or do you find artists who already are dealing with the topic?
Actually, it's both of them. For the first 2 versions, I was just like reaching the artists, and some of them were illustrators. And in this version also, I'm giving workshops also, because some of them are illustrators, but because GIFs are like in between animation and illustration, illustrators are also can easily adapt. So sometimes I give workshops so more people can attend also. And sometimes like for the third version also, we are for instance, there's like an account called Head Explodey. She's like really famous. She's like a PMS woman of stop motion animation. Also, she's attending the exhibition. And also for this one, we have like lots of male artists, non-binary folks, and also one trans man also. and it's really exciting for me also. And also I was a little stressed in the beginning, like should I like get the like more like different perspectives, but then I thought that it's like more valid if more people can talk about it.
Nice. If you have any questions for Meltem, feel free to ask them in the chat. I have another question because you mentioned that it was the first augmented reality show in Turkey, the PMS exhibition. How did the Turkish audience react to a show about PMS paired with augmented reality?
Yeah, the augmented reality part was like really interesting for them, but like I was actually upset that because like the where we did the exhibition, like most of the case, it was in like more like a elite side of the, I don't know, like the rich side of the and more like liberal side of the Istanbul. So
City?
everyone was so happy. I wanted some people that what is it, and then why did you do something like that? But no one asked anything, and then everyone was like, oh, it's so good, and. So it didn't like actually in the first one and the second one, it didn't bring that so much controversy that I was actually looking for. I think it's like, I don't know, it was in the same community that I was also, because it was on newspapers, but I didn't get any like feedback back. But again, it's like more like left-wing newspapers. So I felt that it was just in our community. So I felt a little bit upset about it. But maybe with the third one, I can
Yeah, because another thing I was wondering about, because your intention behind the work is to break the taboos around PMS and menstruation. And I was wondering if you think you've been succeeding with this goal, but then that relates a bit to that fact, right? That you find it a bit a pity that there's no, that it doesn't lead to conversations about it.
Yeah, actually it leads the conversation, but there wasn't any like, I don't know, like cancel culture or something like that, like not something edgy, but of course like people were like asking, and then we were talking, and also in the exhibition we had a panel before the exhibition so that we can talk with lots of people and learning different traditions around menstruation, PMS, and it was like good discussions, but I was talking about more like sharp response.
Yeah. A question from Michael, not Michael. Do you have a vision for the next version of the expo?
Yeah, this one I wanted to like, with this one we are looking for also sponsorship, so that if we sell the AR posters, we wanted to donate some money to the NGOs as well, like related to the topic. And it's really like really important for me. And also I want to do like talks, and as I said before, this time, because the first two one were like by women artists, but this time it's like all genders and non-gender. So like my vision is like that.
And the last question, how is this topic received by non-menstruating people? Do they comment on PMS or mostly on the art? What do they say?
For instance, like I have one friend that he's a Sikh guy from India, and he's a cisgender, and he was like really concerned, and we talked a lot about like, he said that because also he works on like body positivity, and his illustrations are like on body positivity, and he's thinking about those issues a lot. He said that, do I have a right to talk about these issues? I'm a little concerned, but after we talk about it a lot, and then he said that yes, I want to try, because people also feel the effects of PMS, whether they're like, I don't, if because they don't like feel it physically, but they can see the impacts in their environment with their friends, family, and so I think it's important to talk about it.
Yeah, I think so too. I want to finish with one comment by Casey in the chat, who says, ironic to hold the exhibition on Instagram after it started discussion going. Nice comeback. All right, thank you, Meltem, for your presentation, and we'll also share the Instagram account in the chat so people can check out the works there if they want. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Bye.
Yay, bye. And in the following 5 minutes, you can probably enjoy a lot of idyllic images of fresh baked bread and rural life. Our next speaker will take a deep dive, or for 5 minutes, into the online aesthetic cottagecore. Hey, Agnieszka Wodzinska.
Hi,
Hey,
can you hear me?
Yes,
is it
everything
working?
is working.
Great.
Let's start with your presentation then.
Sure, yeah. Okay. Right, is it going? Yes, so my topic is cottagecore, and today I want to explore the significance of cottagecore in this current political and cultural moment. And I will talk about what it is, why it's popular, and identify some of its implications. So basically, like with all internet aesthetics, there are many sub-genres and interpretations, but essentially it's a romanticized version of Western rural life. So this cottagecore content involves a lot of baking, outdoor picnics, rustic decorations, and all this stuff. And it emerged as an aesthetic on Tumblr around 2017, but actually it gained popularity on TikTok in 2020, which of course coincided with coronavirus lockdowns. And it made being outdoors appear very relaxing and safe. In this sense, cottagecore offered and continues to offer a blissful escapism. So staying home obviously led to a renewed interest in activities like baking bread and knitting. Yeah, who can forget the sourdough craze of 2020? And these hobbies align with cottagecore. They are low stakes, crafty, and of course they predate the internet and new media. And yeah, these images provide inspiration for new projects and are quite relaxing to watch. There are actually no men in sight in these cottagecore imaginaries. In fact, cottagecore is so popular amongst sapphic women that this whole term cottagecore lesbian is now very prominent online, which is quite funny. But so why is it so popular amongst queer women and feminine presenting people? Well, the consensus online seems to be that cottagecore allows marginalized groups of people to imagine this space and a routine that feels free from homophobia and judgment. So here we can be of who we love, and we can exist in public spaces, and yeah, we're not sexualized or harassed or anything like that. So yeah, cottagecore offers this vision of a future without heteronormativity. But of course, there's this other side of, I suppose, the political spectrum is this tradwife movement, which you can see stands for traditional wife, which yeah promotes this idea of women being the happiest in heterosexual marriages where they basically serve their husbands and perform domestic labor. And the reason I bring this up is because some of the imagery of tradwife stuff actually aligns with cottagecore. But of course, in the hands of these tradwife accounts, this imagery has a totally different meaning. That has this blood and soil narrative of white supremacy. And as you can imagine, cottagecore users don't appreciate that. Yeah, they don't really like each other, these two communities. So cottagecore users often criticize tradwife values and make it very clear that they don't align with them. But yeah, many users also critique how cottagecore actually is maybe complicit in its relationship with settler colonialism. So yeah, cottagecore creators have to be aware of these connotations, and they often do, and they support Black creators and Indigenous rights, and critique users who refuse to show that support. Yeah, so rather than dreaming about a return to something, whether real or imagined, cottagecore creates this possibility to imagine a future that incorporates these progressive attitudes into these old practices. And this is a future that is actually anti-racist and anti-capitalist. So cottagecore emphasizes the value of activities that are deemed inefficient in the eyes of late-stage capitalism. Here, your time is not profit-driven. Yeah, it shows a slower pace of life. And yeah, cottagecore also makes DIY and low-waste projects very appealing. These activities are not gendered, and they're not categorized based on how profitable they are. There's no space to feel guilty about having free time and using it however you want, really. Also in cottagecore content, the sense of community is quite strong. Of course, users make content that feature themselves, but behind it is this desire to meet and live with like-minded people. It's kind of like an online version of an off-the-grid commune in a way. Yeah, cottagecore exists in parallel with mainstream media, of course, but in the current moment, the popularity of cottagecore, I think, signals that basically young people online are exhausted. We are tired of the current pace of life and the demands of capitalism, so we dream of lives that are not defined by wealth or productivity. So I would say that at its worst, cottagecore remains kind of complicit in this troubling connotations of its imagery, but at its best, it presents young people with this vision of a future that is less consumerist and less obsessed with the commodification of our free time. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Oh, I can't hear you.
Forget to unmute myself again. Thank you so much for your presentation. It is so nice to hear that just one online aesthetics has, you can tell so much about it and has so much also societal issues and beliefs yeah, that relate to it. Yeah, when we were reading about cottagecore, we came across the Aesthetics Wiki, which is now my favorite website of the internet at the moment. Yeah, the Aesthetics Wiki shows that there's an online aesthetic for almost everything. Next to cottagecore, there's cottagecore that includes the darker aspects of the nature, like rotten mushrooms and stuff like that. There's teethcore, an aesthetic centered around teeth. Holosexual is the aesthetic of shiny and reflective holographic imagery. What is your favorite online aesthetic besides cottagecore?
Oh, that's a great question and a difficult one. I quite enjoy goblin core, which is kind of similar to cottagecore, but it's like more kind of more interested in like mushrooms and frogs and like trinkets and crystals. It's like kind of very, yeah, like collecting things, and yeah, it's quite organic, but also, yeah, very interested in just gathering different materials that maybe aren't like super aesthetically pleasing, but there's something interesting about them. Yeah, that's a nice one.
And is there also so much to say about goblin core, or is it because cottagecore is now so popular and becoming mainstream that it causes a whole movement actually?
Yeah, I feel like if you thought about it long enough, you could definitely come up with many different like interpretations of goblin core. Definitely, I know that it's very popular also amongst like queer people and especially like non-binary people, which I'm sure is like, I don't know, there's something interesting there for sure. Yeah, I feel like with all of these like bigger aesthetic movements, there's so many interesting things in there. But cottagecore just, for some reason, attracted my attention the most. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the article that you wrote about cottagecore, you believe that this aesthetic and its community can teach valuable lessons about slow and less materialistic living. You also said it during your presentation, and the importance of offline hobbies, for instance. But also, you write that cottagecore is romanticizing this idea of rural life. So to what extent are cottagecore fans actually adopting this new way of living already? And if they don't, do you think that, what do you think they can learn from it, or how?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most exciting thing about these online aesthetics and online communities. That's, you don't have to actually make that many changes to the way that you live to feel like you're a part of it. Of course, you can absolutely go out there and live your cottagecore fantasy in real life, but I think part of the appeal is in the fact that it's quite easy to join, and actually doing very simple things like, for example, baking bread or going on walks or picking flowers, that would be considered cottagecore. So if you really wanted to feel like you're part of it, you could definitely incorporate very simple things, and you don't have to change your whole lifestyle. And yeah, that also, I suppose, applies to other online aesthetic movements. But yeah, cottagecore, I think, has been criticized a little bit for creating this very romantic version of this life. And there's a lot of interesting articles and discourse online about kind of keeping that in mind and remembering that these, that the countryside is a place that for some people is actually inescapable. Like they can't really afford to leave, and maybe even they would want to, but they're not able to. And then actually on the other side of things, moving to the countryside could be like a privileged thing, which, comes from a place of wealth. If you're able to afford like a second home in the country, that's quite, it's not very accessible. So yeah, there's definitely different aspects to it. But yeah, it doesn't, you don't really have to do those things and actually go and live somewhere in a field to feel like you are part of it. Yeah.
Another question from someone in the chat, Mir. What is your take on the potential danger of romanticizing certain activities, such as knitting, that are also associated with the historically oppressive lifestyles for women?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I suppose you could. I suppose if any of these activities are ways to live and dress and behave, you want to keep in mind how it functioned in history, and then it's kind of up to you whether you want to do those things and kind of reclaim them, or if in your case you actually don't feel comfortable doing them at all because of their connotations. I suppose romanticizing these types of things, I guess, could be dangerous in a way, because as I mentioned in my presentation, some of the imagery that cottagecore uses is also used by these tradwife accounts, which have a totally different agenda. So yeah, I suppose they could be interpreted in that insidious way, but I think it's all about context and keeping an eye out for like how you feel about it personally.
Yeah. I want to finish with sharing a comment from someone in the chat called Sheeps, who says, I'm living my cottagecore dream on Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Nice. I support that statement. I love that game and have been doing the same thing actually for the last year. So absolutely, I'm with you.
Thank you so much, Agnieszka.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And the Animal Crossing actually is a nice bridge to the next speaker, because up next is B. B is a queer artist who's currently pursuing a game design degree, and they will join us with a talk about their generic non-binary game and the power games will have to tell queer stories. Hi, B.
Hi.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, we also had some technical issues before the event, but it's all working fine. So if you're ready, we start your slides.
Yeah, I can start.
Okay.
So, as it was said before, I'm B. I'm a queer artist and a game design student. I'm here to talk about generic non-binary game. It's a visual novel I made back in August 2019, and it was part of a Rainbow Game Jam. The theme for that year's jam was community, but I decided to stay away from it and create something more personal and related to my identity as a non-binary person. By definition, non-binary is a spectrum of gender identities that don't fit into that neat gender binary of men and women. These are all identities that fall outside of that. It could be someone who has no gender, who has all the gender, anything of that kind of thing. And I'm going to start by telling about the technical process behind making of the game. To put it shortly, a generic non-binary game puts the player in the shoes of a non-binary person on a date with a cis woman. It's a visual novel, so the mechanics are very simple. The game consists of a branching dialogue leading to two different endings, and that are decided by a simple value system. The two endings aren't exactly good and a bad one. They show different aspects of an already complicated situation. The entire game it was made in 2 days, and I made all parts of it except for the sound. I used RenP as it's shown on the image. It's a visual novel engine based on Python. Since I worked alone over the span of just 2 days, my workload was pretty easy. I started with a script and then a list of visuals, which included also which I then made myself. And then I implemented all of these items in the actual game. And the sound was the last part, as I used a free sound library to put them into the game. That's really all on the creation of the game itself. And now I can move on to the most important part, which is the content of it. There are several topics that I covered in the game. At the time it was created, I had just been accepted into a university for a game design degree, and I needed to prove to myself that going into game dev was the right choice for me. Before uni, I attended an art high school, and it was quite a change of plans for me to go into game dev rather than visual art. And these things prompted me to make a game, to prove to myself that creating games was actually something that I wanted to do. The game itself is based around my own experiences and feelings, which are exaggerated for the sake of the narrative and the play aspect of the game. The most important thing to note is that the player character in many ways is just me. Through their words, I attempted to tell a story of things that happened to me, being casually misgendered, not being listened to, or even my own inability to explain to people who I am. I'm open and proud on the internet, but interacting with strangers is far more difficult, and that's what the game is supposed to show. One other topic that I touched upon in the game is my own relation to being assigned female at birth and my actual gender and the game dev industry at large. As I mentioned, the in-game conversations are largely exaggerated, but it refers to real-life situations and feelings. I've seen so many cool opportunities for game dev and game students and women in gaming or technology, but they just aren't for me because I'm not a woman. But I'm also, by most people, I'm perceived as a woman, and that's a difficult situation to be in because I feel bad rejecting these opportunities, but I also feel bad accepting them because I'm taking up the space that is not meant for me technically, and it's very difficult space in game dev in general. And now it's 1.5 years after I made that game, and I still hold it close to my heart. It was my first original game project because before that I only made fun games and not something quite this personal. And the reactions to it was the most important part for me. It was very surprising to me to see how many people actually related to the game and how many people as non-binary people told me that their experiences were very similar and that they felt very touched by the themes of the game. And that's the time.
Thank you, B, for your presentation. I played the game and I love the visual transformation that the character makes during the game. So if you want to play the game, we will share a link in the chat as well. Also, if you have questions for B, you can leave them in the chat, of course. Yeah, B, I was wondering, why do you think games have the power to help people rethink their own view of the world? And is it more powerful than, let's say, a story?
The reason I think that of games in particular is because of the aspect where players step into the shoes of a character. Games are always interactive in some form, even if it's just a simple visual novel like what I made. There's still choices. A person has to choose whether they are going to stand up for something or speak up against someone or anything of that sort. While in stories, movies, books, anything, it's not as interactive. I think stories in general have a lot of power, but I think forcing a person to stand in someone's shoes is far more impactful than if it's just an experience.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of leads up to my next question. In a lot of games, you present yourself via an avatar, which allows people to choose to look whatever they feel like. Does this create challenges or opportunities for queer people?
Both, really. It depends on how you want to look at it, because I know many queer people like the character creators because that's also how they explore their own identities. Like, for example, if you are a trans man and you play as a male character in a game, you finally feel more like yourself because of it. But you also have cases such as Cyberpunk 2077, where it was very hugely discussed whether it was a right choice what they did with the character creator in that game, which was supposed to be inclusive, but turned out to be just a parody of trans people, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, the avatars can be or very masculine or feminine, or sometimes they don't really have a gender. But there is also a genre specifically called queer games. Yeah, what I can imagine that if a random game, like a random racing game with avatars that don't show specific genders, not automatically a queer game. When is a game a queer game?
It depends on the definition of the person. For me, I would say it's mostly a game that is at least created by some queer people, or queer people were involved in the creation of it in some way. And also that the themes of the game are somewhat queer related. It doesn't mean that the game has to teach a person about being queer or queer identities, but even just having that community shown in a more clear way. Something that queer people can relate to, or they can see a character and recognize themselves in that character.
Yeah. A question from Casey in the chat. Did you play test this with non-binary people and did they learn something from it?
Actually, no.
Non-binary. Sorry,
No.
non-binary.
Also no, because I made it in just 2 days, so I basically just made it very quickly and put it up, and that was basically it. And then after I had it up on the site, I know some friends of mine played it that are cis, but I don't think it was much of an experience because they already know me, so they are more open to these issues. I don't know how a cis person that has no experience with trans topics or non-binary people, how they would react to the game, because I've never had that kind of interaction.
I finished with a comment from DF, who says, I like how you dare to mirror yourself in the game. And maybe nice to know, where can we follow your work?
I am on basically all social media, Twitter, Instagram, small alien B. It's spelled SMOL. And I just post a lot of art there. And I'm currently working on a game project right now with 2 of my friends, which isn't, it's a queer game, but it's not explicitly queer game, but it's going to be out somewhere next month, I think.
Ah, nice. Yeah, we will share a link in the chat, or you can share your link in the chat after during the break, because I will first thank you for your presentation. It was very nice to see, and amazing that you created this game in just 2 days. Thanks a lot. Yeah, and we are halfway through our program. So maybe it's time to stretch your legs and take a short 5-minute break. You're welcome to buy a virtual drink at the bar, which you can find under the donate button at the left below on your screen. If you're not based in the Netherlands, you can also make a donation via PayPal. Margarita is sharing a link in the chat. And if you don't feel like leaving your computer, that's fine too, because we'd like to get to know you a bit better and show some questions in the stream screen now, which you can answer via the chat. All right, see you in 5 minutes. welcome back. Hope you had a nice break, and it was nice to know that you're watching this stream from Edinburgh to Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Utrecht, Nijmegen, Berlin. Yeah, and now we're starting with the final 4 speakers that we have tonight. It's been almost a year that we are in lockdown situation now, and since the pandemic, our computer literally has become our door to the outside world. We're extremely online and use our computer to meet with colleagues, but also to hang out with friends or to go to events or on places like Zoom or Microsoft Teams or other websites like the live stream website that we are using now. And we usually meet in these online public squares, but we are rarely invited to someone's online private space. So that's why in this season of The Hmm, we're introducing a mini-series called Desktop Cribs. It's like MTV Cribs, but then someone will take us on a live tour through their desktop. And this is our first Desktop Cribs edition, and we're happy that Deborah Meiberger will show how she is organizing her desktop. Deborah is working for Foundation for Public Code at the moment and knows how to make your desktop super secure. Hey, Deborah.
Hello.
Hey, welcome.
Hi. Thanks. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I indeed work now at the Foundation for Public Code as an operations coordinator. We help public organizations to run successful open source projects. I'm also doing some system administration there, which means I'm installing software we use for chat or video calling on servers. But before that, in 2014, I started working for an independent...
Shall we immediately, sorry to interrupt you, but shall we immediately watch your desktop?
Yeah, I am sharing it already.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah, it's already, I'm sharing it already. Sorry, yeah, so of course, we're going to talk about privacy and desktop security, and it's interesting to know how I actually rolled into that. In 2014, I started working at an independent service provider here in Amsterdam called Greenhost. They were quite special because they work on a lot of human rights projects and with NGOs that are dealing with censorship and surveillance, and lots of journalists, of course, as well. And 2014 was like the year before was, of course, the Snowden leaks, which made a big impact, of course, but only when I started working there, I realized like how far these measures have gone, for instance, right? I mean, people know about Snowden leaks, about the mass surveillance and about the spying on everybody. But it's mostly dangerous actually for human rights organizations because they work in hostile environments, in repressive regimes often. So there my interest was triggered, but also it was mandatory for us to work with as much as possible open source tools and use encryption for email. So really try to stay secure as possible, and which is actually really important because, for instance, the NSA, but also the GCHQ, the English intelligence agency, can basically see everything. That's why the Snowden leaks were such a big deal. So that's how I rolled into this little world, so to speak. The first thing I want to show you, you're seeing my desktop right now. There's one thing I do if I start up my computer that you don't see because I'm already on my computer now. That is, I decrypt my hard disk. So that's a very important thing to do. Also important is, in general, if you see updates, always do them because there's always security patches. So no matter what your operating system is, if you see the notification also on your phone for an update, always make sure to do it, and do a backup also regularly. All operating systems have a backup mechanism, and it's really important to utilize that. I'm now mentioning a lot of things that, of course, you need more information about. It's quite extensive, actually. So there is a slide deck on my website from a webinar I gave to a pro-choice NGO last summer that covers every topic I'm sort of touching on now in more detail. So after the backups and the operating system updates, another thing that's important is, of course, the wireless connection. and your wireless connection comes from a modem you get from your provider, it's very important to change the password of that modem. Most people don't know you can log into the modem, but you can, and there you can change your password and also change Wi-Fi channels or other stuff you want to pay attention to, a bit more privacy settings, etc. Another important thing, and that's what I already have on, is a VPN, a virtual private network. You probably heard of it, but when I have this on, it masks my own IP address. So that gives me more privacy. You can use it to establish a secure and encrypted connection in all kinds of countries, because I have servers in each country. So I can now switch to another country if I want to. This is very convenient if you are abroad and want to watch Dutch TV online. You can, from, for instance, Canada, just pick the Netherlands and you get a Dutch IP address and you can watch the localized content. I'm not going to switch now because then the connection will drop. So we're going to leave this. So this is something I really recommend. Of course, I'm making commercial now for the provider because you can see the brand, but I really recommend this provider. And I can explain in the slideshow, I explain more about how you pick a VPN provider. So then I'm going now to a completely different topic, and that's browsers. Of course, we all have a lot of internet browsers. Chrome is, of course, a very known one from Google. They also made an open source version of this called Chromium, and that's where the Brave browser is built on. Oops, that's this one. Holy shit, sorry about that. I put a timer, I'm talking too long already, shit. So browser choices, there are a lot of reasons you can pick a certain browser. Also, the slides will shed more light on that. Of course, the Tor browser is an interesting one, especially if you are in a repressive regime, but it's also if you really care about your anonymity and privacy, this is the browser to use. And it's also the browser you need if you want to go on the dark web. That are the .onion addresses where a lot of shitty things are happening, but it's also a very important safe space, Tor, for lots of people in repressive regimes, which is an actual thing. And the most important thing is actually password management. I don't know if we have time for it now, but the good thing is I made a video tutorial about password management, and it also includes how you create a master password, because a lot of people reuse passwords, and often these passwords are really simple. They just take the last name from their father, the city their mom is born in, and your own date of birth, for instance, and they reuse these passwords everywhere. That's, of course, very risky. You don't want that. So, for instance, you want a password that looks like this, and it can even be more complicated. So what I recommend is use a good password manager and use a good master passphrase with which you lock the password manager. In this case, I will quickly show you how you can create that. For instance, here, I want an account for the Hmm. You pick a username, and then I want to generate the password. So then I click here. I can see what it is. And here you can see, for instance, how the password looks. You can already see that you can never memorize this, but that's a good thing because the manager memorizes it for you. And this also makes it more secure because hackers cannot really brute force this as easily. So I think I'm going to stop here because I can talk for like 2 more hours, and that's probably a bit too much.
Thanks a lot, Deborah. Yeah, indeed, we can learn a lot more from you, and it was nice to get a sneak peek in your computer. How did it feel sharing your computer with us all?
Well, I prepared it a little bit, but I didn't want to make it inauthentic. So my desktop is usually quite clean. Sometimes it adds up, and then I do a big sweep every once in a while. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad, actually. Of course, in the password manager, I obfuscated the username because usually you can pick to see that as well. So it's a bit more private. But yeah, I touched on so many different things. And it's really important that people pay attention to this nowadays because it's well known now that hackers are everywhere. Our government is making big mistakes with the Corona websites, you all have heard of probably. But also the Chinese and the Russians are hacking universities, etc. So you just want to take care of your digital presence as much as possible. And it's not hard also.
Yeah, but you have to put some energy into it, right?
Well, yeah, definitely. It takes some effort, especially if you're going to decide to use a password manager, which you really have to do. But if you're going to do that, that also means you have to change every password of every website you use. But it's very satisfying. And once you have it up and running, it works seamlessly.
Yeah. I really have to do it, but I need to schedule a moment for it, which I will do. I have a question from Sheeps in the chat, who asks, "What is the map shit December 2020?"
Oh God, yeah. To be honest, I did say that I have a very clean desktop, but to be honest, I do clean up the shit. Sorry for saying shit again, and throw it in a folder, and at least I can see the time where I gathered that information. So I know, okay, December.
It's like a garbage bin.
No, it's a backlog of stuff I need to properly document,
Okay.
right? And I have a good organization of my documents, but I also use this for my work, this computer. And then there's so much stuff there, and sometimes you're just overwhelmed. You're like, I'll take care of this later.
Yeah. A question from Casey. Are you worried about quantum supremacy?
Quantum supremacy. But that probably is meant also quantum computers and how they can break encryption, etc., I think, or...
I don't know.
It's probably related, I suspect, because indeed quantum computers are being developed as we speak. And if these are actually going to be incorporated more, I mean, it's probably big governments like China, secret services that are mostly focusing on that. But then they have more computing power, and then brute forcing, for instance, the passwords can be much faster because the computer is so much more powerful. So that will be a big problem for encryption. And there's already groups of universities working on that. Post-quantum encryption, it's called, I think. Even here in Eindhoven, there is a group of people working already on this problem.
Yeah, we can talk further for a long time, but we will share a link with your video tutorial in the chat. Yeah, for the people who are interested to learn a bit more about secure passwords and stuff like that. I wanted to say that overall, the people in the chat think that your desktop is super organized. So,
as the upside of being a neurotic person. I think.
Thank you so much for our first desktop Cribs edition and welcoming us in your computer. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks also, guys. Bye.
Yeah, and then we go to the next speaker. Up next is independent researcher and designer Nadine Botta, who will talk about her project Orders of the Undead. Hey, Nadine. I think you are muted.
Hi.
Yes. Hey. Yeah, let's start with your presentation.
Yes, let's go. Is the sound playing? Good evening. We're starting at the end. Hollywood has trained us to think of the end of the world as a literal end of the planet, often entailing zombies, but it's also just the end of a reality. Who would have thought 1 year ago today that our world would be ending? And who would have thought that it would be fought with memes, pajamas, toilet paper, and that so many of our colonial prejudices would be revealed in the process? In my own effort to make sense of it, I found myself on a speed date with Amsterdam epidemiologist Henry de Vries, courtesy of the BioArt and Design Awards. Henry researches sexually transmitted infections and tropical skin diseases and found that despite improvements in medical treatment, one of the biggest hurdles are the social and cultural stigmas that prevent testing, treatment, care, and recovery. Meanwhile, I became obsessed with why pandemic movies are almost all zombie movies. Could it be about this stigma issue that prevents medical treatment? Zombies originated in Haitian folklore. Before early movies turned it into a symbol of fear of racial infection, which is from colonial epidemiology. Since then, the zombie has evolved from enslaved victim to flesh-eating, brainless, and insatiably out-of-control devouring monsters. This colonial mythology of a soulless human being controlled by someone or something else has evolved without us really knowing the origins to sum up our existential fears of modernity. I also learned that not only are virus outbreaks mythologized as zombie outbreaks, but viruses themselves are considered zombies or undead organisms. There are quadrillions of them on Earth, yet less than 300 cause disease in humans, while the majority of viruses are bacteria and essential in controlling the size of our microbiome.
It's both alive and dead.
If viruses are considered undead, then what constitutes life? This is the type of question that one can have long conversations late into the night about. But for biological purposes, there are 7 traits that need to take place within the confines of a membrane. And these 7 traits are what decolonial scientists are asking is whether this definition still serves science and humanity.
It's only born when you can enclose yourself. Something can enclose itself. It can have self-referential, self-intentional action, grow, reproduce, and die.
The type of fear that is evoked by open-ended disasters and existential dread is what makes us so susceptible to what Dahlia Schweitzer has called the outbreak narrative. She identifies 6 tropes that were codified in the 1995 Outbreak movie. Although I don't have time to discuss them all now, I invite you to head down to Undead Orders on Instagram, where we have launched a Contagion bingo game series based on them, creating a grid allowing you to view films through these traits. Identifying these traits in the coverage of COVID-19 is what got me thinking of mind viruses. And of course, the second biggest mind virus last year after conspiracy theories was Instagram and TikTok filters. These images show my progression of what I thought filters were to what they could be. Wow, David O'Reilly is amazing. To reining in my imaginations again to my skills. I worked with Vincent van Dijk, and together we learned the ins and outs of Spark AR. Realized that we had to hand over the storytelling and use the filters literally as lenses, inviting people to apply these lenses of the undead. This one is inspired by the Get Out hypnosis scene, when that moment when one loses control and consciousness.
Where is our beautiful fire that gave light to the world? The fire of pyramids, the fire that burned through the hulls of slave ships and made us breathe.
Yeah, now Nadine, we lost Nadine in the. She's she's back in the backstage area, and I think we will bring her up into the stream again. Hey, Nadine.
You lose me.
Yay. Yeah. We lost you at a slide with a green circle on it.
The green circle. So that's the last slide, right?
Yeah, I think one like the one, maybe the former last slide or something.
So after the Black Lives Matter fist, remembering that colonialism was the real apocalypse, which brings us back to the end of the world. The end is always the beginning. In too many zombie movies, we see the police state and neoliberalism booting up again immediately. So this is the end of the world. End is always a beginning. In this next slide, you're going to see Rick Grimes from Walking Dead, who immediately at the end of the world goes and puts his police uniform back on and starts up capitalism again. And this is what I would like people to think about in our moment of end of the world, is do we just want to go into that, or can we create space for something else? Such as this inspiring poem by Sonia Sanchez, which is going to play on this video, maybe? Great.
Question. Sorry, I will repeat the question because I'm now entering the stream. How will you answer that last question?
I'm not sure, but I think that I mean, all of the usual stuff, right? Caring for each other, changing our priorities, relating to each other, shifting our focus from quantifying life into economics, into emphasizing what is important and what valuable. But this is all like huge, almost impossible task. And too often, I think we stop ourselves from going there, from imagining that, because we think it is so huge and impossible. And so I would like to invite people to stay with that trouble somehow and not to just foreclose the possibilities of this question. I was very much inspired by the writing of Christina Sharp, who in The Wake writes about the wake that needs to be held and a space which recognizes the dead, but also recognizes the opportunity and not to shy away from the difficulty of this moment, to sit with it.
Yeah, you were also you did make a link to the pandemic, and we were reading that during the times of crisis and the pandemic, zombie movies are in some ways more popular than ever. And in one of the Instagram posts on at Undead Orders, you also talk about how not only the virus outbreaks are mythologized as zombie outbreaks, but viruses themselves are considered zombie or undead organisms. Were you interested in zombies before the current pandemic, or did the pandemic spur your interest?
The pandemic and the project. I mean, I kind of knew about zombies. I wasn't that into them. I thought they were kind of boring. But once I started researching them and understanding their history and what all they represented and what they embodied, they became quite fascinating to me. I do wonder, though, how much, because looking at the zombie, there was like what they call peak zombie a few years ago in about 2015, when there was more zombie movies and television made than any other genre. And actually, it's been on a decline since then. But now.
Your sound stopped again. It's the zombies, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Let's move on with the next presentation. Sorry, thank you, Nadine, for your presentation. We've all seen the most funny versions of the Bernie Sanders meme, but why is specifically this image so meme-worthy? Is it the mittens or something else? Our next speaker is part of one of the first researchers to which elements make a meme go viral. Hey, Chen. I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Hi, Lilian.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Hey. Yes.
Great.
Yeah, you're a PhD student at Boston University, and in the next following 5 minutes, you're going to share more about your research with us.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chen. I'm honored to be here on behalf of my collaborators and advisor at iDrama Lab, giving you a talk on our recent research, dissecting the meme magic, understanding indicators of virality in image memes. And in this paper, we would like to know what visual elements make an image meme go viral. Memes first used in biology, and now it's in our urban dictionary. Previous research has examined the text memes such as hashtags regarding of its timing, emotion, social network structures, and many other factors. However, not many research has looked into the visual elements of image memes. In this paper, we define an image meme as a picture shared by more than one user and present at least one variation on social medias. And for the definition of virality, the higher frequency a meme being shared, transformed, and imitated on social media, the higher virality it is. So to start with, we obtain the image memes appeared in 1.3 million posts on 4chan political incorrect form, and we then use the number of posts that contain a certain image memes as an indicator of its virality. So all these indicators are divided into 3 dimensions according to the art theory. We want to understand if meme obey the same rules as other visual artworks in how they capture their viewers' attention. So the first dimension is the composition of the memes, for example, like whether it is composed of multiple panels as this meme, like it is fine, or if it is used different kind of scale, like the small, medium, large scales. And then we may look into the main subject in the image. Like in art, we have different kind of subjects like the portraits, like the still life and the landscape and many other subjects. And in this study, we look for whether the focus is on the character and if that character shows a particular facial expression or pose, and what emotion on the character's facial expression. Like this is an examples of our memes collect from our data set, and there is a positive emotion, negative emotion, and a neutral emotion. And we also want to know, does the meme contains any words? If it contains words, is it too much words on one meme? And for the third dimensions, one relates to the audience of the meme. We emphasize that image memes require specific knowledge to be understood, might be less likely to get shared than those are easily accessible to everyone, like people like different kind of arts in the same way. Like this left meme, it can be easily understood the fun facial expression, but however, for the right meme, you need some background in history to understand the deformation towards the Jews. So we have 6 human annotators to label 100 images. Then we train the classifier to distinguish between the viral and the non-viral image on the labeled dataset. Finally, the random forest achieved 0.866 area under curve, which means our classifier can distinguish between the viral and the non-viral memes. We also apply the same pipeline to the mainstream platform dataset like the Twitter, the Reddit. So this is the importance of the feature to make a viral meme. I searched for the viral meme on Google, and basically the result applies to each of them. To summarize, our research show composition and the subject of meme have an impact on its virality, like a close-up scale, contain characters, and include positive or negative emotion may go viral. So thank you for your attention. If you are interested, please check out our full paper and follow our future study at iDrama Lab. Thank you.
Thank you, Shen, for sharing your research. Yeah, for me, it often seems very random why an image can go viral and becomes a meme. How do you feel about that after this research?
Actually, for the first step, I read a lot of memes, including the text one and the image ones. And there is a lot of research have been done on the text memes, like the hashtags, like the tweets, and why it go viral. There are some results like in the social networks who is sending it, and the timing may impact on the virality of one meme. But for the image meme, I found that there is some art theory can be applied on, which means it may go the same way as those classic artwork goes. And I, exploring our data set, found there is some traits appear on those viral memes. And for the non-viral memes, there is no such, indicators we call in those kind of memes. So that's why we do such research.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think that Bernie Sanders meme did go viral, for instance?
First, the meme is triggered by event actually. Also, the meme itself applied to our result of viral memes too. Like the Bernie, he put on a very serious face and dress up quite funny in such occasion. That's why it attracts people's attention. And you can see Bernie's postures in the middle of the pictures.
But it's not really a close-up.
Yes, but it's like a medium shot. Like Bernie is not, among a lot of people, there's only Bernie in the image, right? So that's why we can catch the characters of the memes at the first sight.
Yeah. We have a question from KI in the chat who asks, what's your favorite meme?
Oh, for me, I like those, children's memes. Like there's a meme including a baby's face. Like, and my favorite one is the Russian girl standing on a house on fire, and it smell like, something bad guy. That's very cute for me.
You like cute memes?
Yeah.
A question from DF who asks, which meme is regarded as the first meme?
The first meme?
Yeah.
Actually,
do you know that?
There is the first meme I think is appear around 2000 and during the 911 event. This is what I read from the literature, saying that the academia has already noticed there is such memes appeared on the internet, because at that time internet is not like crazy popular as now. And before the 2000 memes is actually a terms in biology, like in the genetic field they are referring to something, they going through the population by the variation, selections, and retention, competing for the attention for the hosts, those kind of things. So then we use this term to the internet phenomenon to refer to our image memes.
Yeah. Last question from Nan 57. What would be the most controversial meme?
I think there is a lot of controversial memes actually, and they may go viral within some, quite small groups, the communities online. But for the controversial memes, to understand the controversial, you need some background information. That's why it may not go as viral as those memes are quite understandable, like those cute memes,
The Bernie Sanders one, for instance. Yeah. My last question is, how will your research continue? Will you do more research to memes, or do you have further questions you want to answer after doing this research?
Yes, actually, I am now examining the virality of the short videos on TikTok to see what indicators make short videos go popular. You can see the M2B, that one is quite viral on the TikTok. We want to know why, and it may help us understanding, how to better communication with the teenagers and how to promote marketing stuff.
Yeah, interesting.
Thank you.
I would like to hear more about it, so I will check out your Twitter page probably.
Thank you.
For updates. Thanks for your for sharing your story tonight. It's ready for our last speaker. Last April, we opened a face filter exhibition with the Hmm in collaboration with Cinekit Festival. The exhibition can still be seen on your face.thehum.nl. Margarita will share a link in the chat now. And one of our favorite filters of the exhibition is made by our next and last speaker, Paris-based artist Anne Horo. Hi, Anne. Do you have... Oh, I think you're muted. Hey, no. I don't hear you. Maybe you can change the microphone, the audio output in the settings. I still don't hear you. You see that wheel in the settings? Maybe, Marco, we can quickly show one of the slides I prepared and solve this issue with Anne in the meantime. Hey, here we are again. Although it's nice to know that Mastodon and podcasts like Reply All and the Aesthetics Wiki are your favorite places on the internet, we are happy that Anne is here with Sound. Hey.
Hello.
Hey, and let's start with your presentation immediately.
Hello, my name is Anne Horel. I'm a French digital artist working mostly with pop culture material and social media. I'm also a tarot reader, aromatherapy practitioner, and a plant-based witch. I started using social media as a creative tool in 2009. At this time, I was collecting Facebook group names and basically just being hyperactive on Facebook. With these group names, I began to write songs, and the first one was called I'm a Floating Being. And this led me to write more internet-related songs. I don't know if we can hear the sound of the slides. There's sound. This song is called Clique sur moi, which is like an anthem to internet culture. And you can see all of these music videos on YouTube. Writing songs was mostly an excuse to make music videos, and I was posting them on YouTube. I was also becoming an eponymous avatar of myself, and I was performing in galleries, squats, and weird venues in an underground scene in Paris while I was digging into the rising of the internet culture, which is something I love observing. In 2000, this is like, this is another video. In 2014, I made this musical web series called Greetings from Michigan Orel. The last episode was a short documentary about Detroit. And at this time, Vine was becoming a thing I got really into. And I was basically making GIFs using music and sound. Within a year and a half, I reached 2,030K followers on Vine, and my life completely changed. I signed as a director in a big production company. I started making advertisements and social media content, music videos for other artists and brands. And then I started asking myself serious questions about social media. And the postulate was, what is my purpose as an artist with such an influence and a big audience? What being popular on social media implies in terms of responsibility? Meanwhile, I was also developing a tarot reading skills. It's always been a thing within me since I was a child, and I started reading cards when I was 16. In 2018, I created my own version of the tarot, which with contemporary divinities, which are celebrities on the Met Gala red carpet. And in 2019, I spent the whole year studying tarot, reading cards for people, and studying aromatherapy. I was wondering how I could make my art practice and divinatory art meet in a place where it all makes sense for me and who I want to be in this world right now. And here you can see the major arcanas. For those who don't know about tarot, there are archetypes that I like to see as benevolent messengers who come to you in a reading to give you perspectives and highlights on your life, or situation, or a question. I've created my own combination of reading system with an oracle called Luba, which is a powerful tool to give you deeper information. And I just love the combination of both. I think they communicate well together and they enjoy this collaboration. Witchcraft and divination, tarot reading, holistic health are trends on social media, and I'm very careful with it because it's very easy to manipulate people by pretending having the answers to whatever they wonder about. And whenever someone comes to you as a tarot reader, you are in a position of power, and some people abuse this power, and I profoundly disagree with it. I could also mention toxic positivity, which is also a big subject. I like to see divination art as a creative opportunity, and since last January, I started making AR filters on Instagram, and this is a new playground for me. I really believe that anyone can read messages in the cards and any tool they feel attracted to. My goal as a tarot reader is to share my vision by making art related to contemporary society and also position myself energetically in the now, trying my best to become an invested human being. Currently, I'm working on a collective and AR filter deck, and I'm interested in creating an augmented version of myself as a collagic, weird character with multiple faces that anyone can wear like a mask.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Anne, for sharing your story. Super cool how you combine your work as an artist and being a tarot reader. It's nice to see that. I noticed on Instagram that there are more tarot inspired filters. Why do you think tarot and filters work well together?
Because it's just a new field of interaction. I mean, tarot has always been a creative outlet, and it's been like centuries that artists are making different versions of tarot. And, you know, you can take it from a card and bring it to a digital field, which is contemporary art. And I feel like there is a whole new field of creativity that is opening with tarot. And like in the history of tarot, I think it's interesting to invest this. I can't hear you anymore. I lost you. Alone here.
Yeah, let's continue with a question from the chat by Just Freakin' Olsen. People have nice questions. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Which tarot card speaks most to you?
I mean, this speak to me in like it depends on the question, it depends on the moment, and I just, you know, I'm taking them whenever it's a communication. Actually, it's like it's just as if you were asking me which friends which thing the most with, or you know, it just depends. I mean, yeah, it depends.
And last question, because we're coming to the end of the event. Which of your face filters is used most often?
I think it's the Oracle one. Like a big wigs around the head, and there is like a divination ball, and you can read your future. Like the Oracle is telling you the future. I think it's the most used on Instagram.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it's difficult to imagine if you don't know your filters, but if people can check out your Instagram page, and probably they will recognize the filter by how you just described it. Thanks so much for sharing your story, and keep making your nice work. It's nice. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and like I said, we've come to the end of the event tonight. I would like to thank all the speakers for the presentation. I would like to thank all of you for watching and asking questions in the chat. If you ever want to share a nice project or give a tour through your laptop, feel free to contact us. Margarita is sharing our email address in the chat at the moment. Thanks Arjon, and Inez, and Michelle, and all the other people at IMPAKT for this nice collaboration. For all of the people who are watching and who missed celebrating Carnival this year, you should really attend to their virtual masked ball this Friday, as Inez said. Thanks to Margarita, Marco, and Lawrence. of course, for their work behind the scene, and many, many thanks to the Stimuleringsfonds for making this event happen. Our next event will be a very special one. For some of you who might have joined our quarantine experiment last year, where we had 5 different talks on 5 different platforms. And with that event, we tried to see which presentation, and people had to jump from platform to platform to see all presentations. And this was for us a way to do research to how these different platforms were working. And this was a great experience to discover the internet together with a group of people. One of the comments that we received after this event is that it almost felt like a physical experience to browse to different online places and see the same names appear in the chat. So we're going to do something similar, and this will be a virtual tour through different alternative platforms. Not only will this be an exploration of platforms, but also an experiment in presentation format. So expect a presentation in EtherCalc, a privacy-friendly alternative to Google Docs, or a presentation in Terminal via Terminal. The tour will be followed by a conversation with 2 people about whether alternative platforms will fix the internet, or whether the very infrastructure and governance of the internet need to be reimagined. This event will take place on the 31st of March, so mark that in your calendar, and the entire program is not confirmed yet, but it will definitely be a unique experience. Check out our website for more information and subscribe to our newsletter if you want to stay up to date. If you don't want to wait until 31st of March and to get new insights about internet culture, you can also join our Telegram channel. We already shared a QR code, but we will share a link in the chat as well. This is the place where we filter the internet for you. We share tips, links to check out, or articles. And we do that twice a month on Saturday morning. The next list will not be sent this Saturday, but the week after. All right. As I said in the beginning, we miss being able to see you and meet you during our virtual event. So we would like to offer you we also would like to offer you the ability to have a chat together or ask remaining questions to one of the speakers. So for the ones who would be up for it, we created a new online environment where we can hang out together for a few more minutes. It actually looks like a desktop. It's a bit inspired by the desktop cribs this time, where we will all be screenshot images, and there will be a few hidden Easter eggs inside. So feel free to explore. Margarita is also sharing a link in the chat now. When I don't see you in the desktop meetup, I hope to see you at the alternative platform event or in the future at a future The Hmm event. Thank you again for joining and supporting us, and have a nice evening. Bye.